we've been curious. We've been talking about it off the air. What you think the biggest story of the week is this week? What is it?
Stock market meltdown. Stock market meltdown. So this is the final nail, to use a cliche. So people in America work hard. The majority of us are not dope dealers. We're not layabouts. We work hard. The responsible people, the good dads, the good moms, they put money aside for their children's education, for their retirement, so they don't have to depend on the dole or handouts from anyone. They expect, in return for their hard work and responsibility, a government that runs efficiently and honestly. That is the expectation that Americans have. We are now seeing the most incompetent government of the last 150 years. That's what we are seeing. And if you look at your statement at the end of June, I hope you don't, you'll see that your net worth is down huge. And you already know that you're paying more for everything you need. And there's one person responsible. One. Joe Biden. That is by far the biggest story, not only of the week, but of the year.
I have to tell you, Bill, I've never seen a White House more out of touch. I mean, they just keep doubling down that this is Putin or this is somebody else's fault, and this isn't about spending, inflation. I know.
Because they know it's BS. It's like when your kid comes in and lies to you about where he or she has been. If you're a responsible parent, you don't really like that. And that's what this guy is doing.
And, you know, it's worse when you say to your kid, look, okay, I'm going to give you a chance to revise that answer. Don't lie to me. Tell me the truth. And he's had chance after chance after chance. Yep.
Right.
Over and over and over again.
Well, Biden hasn't given an interview to anybody but Jimmy Kimmel. And that's like being interviewed by a mummy, an Egyptian mummy who just looks at you.
Wait a minute.
I like Kimmel personally.
Hang on. Yesterday, they did have an interview with a Muppet from AP.
Right. And that's what I was going to say. He doesn't do many interviews. But yesterday he goes, people are very, very concerned. No, they're not concerned. They're furious. So when you and I speak on Fridays, which, by the way, I never take for granted, and I appreciate you having me on your radio program every Friday. I just want everybody to know that. But when you and I speak, we have a tendency to advance the story because people know what's going on. You don't have to tell people the economy's bad or you're getting hosed. They know. Now, there are some people in denial and still blaming Trump or Putin, or they're blaming Hillary Clinton. I don't know who they're blaming, Warren Harding. But everybody who has an IQ knows it's Biden's fault. But Biden doesn't know. And that's really the danger here. So when Biden tells you, oh, it's Putin. No, it's the oil companies. I'm going to write them a letter. When he does stuff like that, he actually believes this stuff. It's not like he's Nixon trying to, lie his way out of Watergate. No. Biden is so incapacitated mentally that he believes the garbage his advisors put in front of him. He doesn't write any speeches. He doesn't even edit any speeches. In my lifetime, I have never heard of a president not editing a word that was put in front of him. Trump didn't write any speeches, but he edited heavily, and then he ad-libbed, sometimes not in a great way. But Biden, you put it in front of him, he'll sign it or say it. He doesn't know what the deuce is happening.
Bill, let me go back to gas for a second. Joe Biden is pushing this narrative, and everybody in the White House, that these oil companies are, they're not doing their patriotic duty. And he again this week, this would make 2 threats in 1 week. He said he has the power to issue a national emergency and get these gas and oil companies to start drilling and do their job. All of the oil companies and gas companies are like, we do it, you won't let us. This is
great.
What is this?
So the first day in office, he signs an executive order stopping a lot of drilling in the pipeline and imposing regulations. Now he goes, I'm going to order you to drill. I mean, you're the
crazy
moron who did it in the first place, who crippled the American fossil fuel energy industry. And now you're ordering us to do something? Number one, he can't order them to do anything, even if he does another crazy, dopey executive order. But it just shows you he has no idea. A rational person, somebody who actually knew what was happening, would say, I was the guy who stopped all of the harvesting. And now I'm going to order them to harvest? Maybe we want to word it a little bit differently. But no, this is really the tragedy of the country now.
Let me take you to one more topic. I'm going to take a break. But Bill Clinton said yesterday that for the first time he truly fears for the republic, or he said democracy, that he suggested that if the Republicans win, that we're going to be a fascist nation. The fascism that I worry about, I have seen from the left, not from the right. There is no, national emergency on everything coming from the right. They're not building up more and more power. And I fear that this is a trial balloon, or sending out the message that, democracy is on the ropes. But I wanted to ask you, have you ever heard a president of the United States say that before about the American people and half of the country? We'll get your answer when we come back. Your thoughts on that, and have you ever heard a president say that about his own countrymen?
I don't really take Mr. Clinton's hyperbole that seriously. And that being said, he's the smartest of all the Democratic politicians in the last 30 years.
Yes,
he was actually smarter than Obama, and Obama's smart. But Bill Clinton understood the tempo of the country. And, of course, he wasn't the doctrinaire liberal like his wife is. And then when things got rough for him, he pivoted very hard into law and order, no welfare, all of that kind of stuff, because he knew the mood of the country was there. You can say he's venal, but I've talked to him a number of times. He knows what's going on. So, I mean, I don't really take that as anything seriously. I think that Bill Clinton knows the progressive wing of the Democratic Party has now ruined the Democratic Party, at least in the short term. I think he well understands that. And that's what should have been asked if the interviewer had any sense. But, of course, what's going on there. Because Clinton, he's not like Hillary. I mean, he's not that. And so I saw what he said, but I really didn't. I said, okay, this is just playing to the crowd. Whatever he thinks they want to hear, he's going to say.
I think Bill Clinton, would be a guy who is, a little corrupt, if you will. But I think the Clinton initiative and all the real deep corruption comes from his spouse. Bill, tell me about this weekend. What do you have planned, and what do you have on sale for BillO'Reilly.com?
Well, my urchins are taking me out to dinner, but when I asked them who was paying for the dinner, there was silence.
That's strange. I have the same thing. Oh, you're taking me out to dinner.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm paying. Okay.
Yeah. So no appetizers. And if you've been to a restaurant lately, number one, they're jacking their prices up like crazy. And number two, they're cutting the portion.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing.
I know.
And if you haven't gotten Dad a gift, please don't. Use your mind. And we have a deal on BillO'Reilly.com that if you give Dad a premium membership, you get any book free, including the number one book in the world right now, Killing the Killers. But you can get any of my books free. And if you buy Killing the Killers outright we'll give you Killing the Mob free. And I'm doing that, Beck, because, I do feel sorry for wage earners. And they're getting hammered and they don't know what to do. So if I can give you something free, I'm going to give you something free. And that's the way we are. That's the way Beck and O'Reilly are. We are generous guys.
I will tell you, Bill, when people like you or people like me are shocked at the gas pump and say, good heavens, I mean, this is insane. When it is affecting people like us, I cannot even imagine the average person. God bless you. The Steele dossier, okay? Everything that happened, all this Russian, collusion and, Donald Trump has a, really bad film from Russia that was made and he's, making it with prostitutes, et cetera, et cetera. All of that stuff, all of it now, we know was not only false, but we know now that the FBI knew that in 2017, had a pretty good idea in 2016. In 2017, they were very clear on it. They knew where it came from. And this guy is made into this Russian operative, and maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but he was at a liberal think tank. And he wasn't coming up with the stuff himself. He was being fed information from a Clinton supporter. Somebody was on her campaign staff. So he didn't get it from Russia. He gets it from this guy. All of this now lays right at the feet of Hillary Clinton. Was this a coup? You can make the case that this was a coup of sorts. They were trying to overthrow his presidency. If this was happening in any other country, we would say it was a failed state. When a major party can use the government apparatus and the media apparatus to smear and to build a case against an innocent guy just to thwart him. And they all knew. The Washington Post knew in either 17 or 2018. They knew, and yet they continued to win the Pulitzer. They continued the lies. Okay, so that happened. Oh, the FBI also is the victim in that one. I just want you to know. They say they were duped. Now, the FBI also went out and tried to find a lost diary this weekend. Now, this one, you helped me out. I was reading Jonathan Turley's opinion on this weekend, and he's right. This is an absolute over-the-line abuse of justice. And the FBI needs to be called into account from the Senate, from the House, and the people. You've already destroyed your credibility, FBI. Now, here's what happened. Do you remember a story about a year ago, I think, that there was a diary from Joe Biden's daughter? And in it, she had said that she had taken inappropriate showers with her father when she was young. She also said, and I don't think it says the abuser, but she also said she was abused sexually, I think by a family member, but it doesn't pin it on Joe Biden. So there was some sort of sexual problems going on, and there were showers with Daddy. Also, in that diary, she talks about how she and the other children of the family resent Dad so much because of the way he controls all of the money, which goes right to the Hunter laptop, which we now know is true. Well, they denied that this diary had anything like that. There was no, that's not true. All of this is just gobbledygook. Really? Well, the FBI broke into several members of the Project Veritas staff, their homes, this weekend, searching for anything related to the diary. Now, here's what happened with the diary. The diary, according to Project Veritas, was from an anonymous tipster that said, hey, this diary is here. It was left behind. Just go get it. Okay, well, all right. It would be really hard to believe that if that hadn't just happened.
With the Hunter Biden laptop.
Exactly right.
Maybe this is just something this family does.
Yes.
They leave really important documents
Correct.
in very strange places.
Okay, so they left the diary behind. Project Veritas goes and gets it. They do not publish the story because they can't verify that the diary is actually hers. Okay? So they turn it over to the police. Now, this is a year ago. And you might remember this story because it made just a little blip. Nobody in the mainstream media was willing to touch it. Well, now we know that the diary is real because the White House had the Justice Department and the FBI break down the doors of these people's houses on Saturday morning. And they were looking for anything related to that diary. Now, may I ask, what is the federal crime that would have been committed here with a diary? If my daughter loses her diary and it has bad things in it about me, is the FBI going to investigate and kick down the doors of maybe some boy in high school that took it from her? I don't think so. Since when is that a federal crime? Now, if it had things in it where I was abusing her and they needed that for evidence, I could see, but that's not what they were doing. So the FBI is completely out of control. The ATF also, we found out this weekend, has obtained 54 million gun records. 54 million gun records. Apparently, when any gun business goes out of business, they have to turn their records that are 20 years old. They can destroy them. The Fed now is taking the gun records and they're keeping them and they're digitizing them so you can run them for names. This is a federal registry now. They are going to, the small gun owners, gun shops are going to be forced out of business. Mark my words, they're all going to go out of business. And so every record that they have will be in the hands of the federal government. You tie this to the IRS spying on your bank account, they've got everything they need. Should they decide to misuse it. But that would be crazy. We have the Rittenhouse trial that happened. I've got to go over with you today. It's astounding. The prosecution's case and the prosecution's witness, I don't know if the prosecution knows what that word means. You're not supposed to come up with things that exonerate the guy you're calling a bad guy, but that's what they did. They put two witnesses on that disproved the state's case. Why, in the wildest dreams of the prosecution, would you put these two guys up as witnesses where they're like, no, that's not what happened? So now we know that the persecution, not prosecution, persecution of Kyle Rittenhouse is just that. They have nothing on this guy. Biden came out this weekend and he said, no. The payout thing, you remember that thing that I said was a garbage term? Do we still have that from last week? He was asked about, do we have, if we don't have it at our fingertips, no big deal, Sarah. He was asked, hey, what about paying 450,000 people, $450,000 to people who just came across our border during the Trump administration, and maybe up to $1 million? And he was very adamant. It's a garbage story. And Stu said, I think he's arguing about the 450,000.
The exact dollar amount, because the way he answers it, he's very specific and kind of looks at him and says, "You said $450,000 per person, right? $450,000 per person. That's garbage."
Okay. Well, he's obviously, some medication makes him really, really angry at times, because he just flew off the handle on Saturday when he was asked about this, because the White House said, No. He was wrong. It is going through. They're going to settle these cases.
So they said it might not be $450,000.
Yeah. So here's what he said. Listen to this. What he said Saturday.
You said last week that this report about migrant families at the border getting payments was garbage.
No, I didn't say that. Let's get
Yes, you
straight.
did.
You said everybody coming across the border gets $450,000.
So the number was what you had a
The
problem.
number I was referring to.
Bing, bing.
Now, here's the thing.
Sure.
If in fact,
Now listen to this.
because of the outrageous behavior of the last administration,
Which is the same
you
as yours and the guy
whether
before.
it's legal or illegal, and you lost your child. It's gone. You deserve some kind of compensation.
Okay, all right, good. So you lost your child. Lost your child. That guy is unstable. That is a really unstable reaction.
And he looks worse than that sounded if you're listening on radio.
That's a very unstable reaction. Okay, you lost your child. Not a good weekend for him to point that out, because, the child that we all have seen pictures lifted over the fence in Kabul and given to American soldiers has been lost by the United States government.
We lost their child?
We lost their child. Now, we have said over the weekend, we're going to do everything we can to find them. Oh, okay, all right. So the child might be in Afghanistan, but most likely it's at one of 6 different countries. I'm sure you're not going to have a problem finding the infant. You lost your child. By the way, the mandate is not really now a mandate. The president has flown 70 secret flights into Florida. Inflation has grown between 50 and 200% in the last year because on food prices. Gas prices are going to go through the roof. That was the weekend. The good news is this is all coming undone. It's coming undone quickly. Oh, by the way, they passed the reconciliation bill. So they passed the last stimulus package. It's important to understand why Omar and her people didn't vote for the bill. There's 2 reasons. One, because there's a lot of weasel Republicans in Congress that allowed them to do it. How do these people survive in a primary? These people. But there's a bigger reason why they didn't vote for it. And it should tell you everything you know, and it ties all of these stories together. Okay, so when you look at all of these things, you see that the FBI has gone dark. You see the ATF is now obtaining gun records and digitizing them. and making them permanent now. The IRS is spying. The mandate that's not really a mandate, but is a mandate. The payoff to people who came across the border from Biden because you lost your child. The 70 secret flights into Florida. The inflation of gasoline prices. I'm telling you, you're going to be paying $5 a gallon easy everywhere in the country by the end of this first term. When you look at all of these stories, what do they all have in common? They seem separate, but they're not. So let me tell you what happened to the reconciliation bill. Reconciliation bill passed, but none of the, Omars voted for it. None of the squad voted for it. Why? Because they said without the Build Back Better passage, if that bill doesn't pass, you have a key but no lock. They said they broke up the bills and they broke up all the infrastructure and put half of it in one bill and the other half in the other bill. So it's a lock and key. So if you just pass the infrastructure bill, but not the Build Back Better bill, you can't get everything done that you want. I've been telling you for a while they're building it one piece at a time. Been telling you that. That's exactly what she just verified over the weekend. Now, how does that tie into all of this? Because everything is one piece. The IRS spying on your bank is part of the ATF getting all of the information on guns. The ability for the FBI to use secret courts to spy on political enemies is also all part of that. The secret flights into Florida, where they're not alerting anyone. 70 secret flights into Florida. These all are tied in to the destruction of America. That is their goal, make no mistake.